Yes, indeed. Nice to have your company wherever you might be watching around the world as we welcome you to the world-famous Exhibition Speedway in beautiful Brisbane, Queensland. Tonight, the 13th and final round of the Series 500 Car Care Products International Speedway Challenge. A grueling event featuring 16 riders from 7 countries that started in Australia on the 1st of January. That's about 8 weeks ago. And since that point in time, this travelling super trip have covered some 19,000 kilometres. Tonight's grand final is frankly what dreams are all about for Speedway fans, with no less than the top 4 riders mathematically having a chance to win the 13-round championship. Joining me now is the reigning World Speedway champion from Sweden, Tony Rickardsson, who leads the series by 6 points going into tonight's final. How are you feeling?
You know, I feel really great. You know, I've been back to the hotel, had a good sleep just before I came here, and I'm just really looking forward to tonight, and I'm sure it's going to be a cracking meeting.
Tony, you've had to graft very hard in this tournament. You got away to an ordinary start, I guess, by your high standards with some of the big tracks in Western Australia. Then you won the Mildura round, and then you seem to go through a lot of bad mechanical luck, and you've continued to press on, and you've clawed your way back to the lead right when it counts at the very end.
Yeah, that's right. I think you put it all together, you know, as the way I've been looking at it, you know. I've just been feeling all the time. I try to stick in there and just try to work through all the problems, and hopefully, you know, my big, you know, hope was I could have a few points ahead of Wiggin before the last round, because I know he's really good around here, and maybe it's not that this track specialist. So, but I feel really confident, and I'm sure I can hopefully pull off a win tonight.
Okay, good luck to Tony Rickardsson from Avesta in Sweden, leading by 6 points heading into tonight's grand final. He's one of the big chances, and talking about the big chances, I caught up with a few more just a short time ago. Well, joining me now is Finland's Olli Tervainen on your 3rd tour to Australia. You must have enjoyed this series a great deal.
Yeah, this definitely was the best highlight of my Speedway career, if you can say that. It was definitely well organized, and I have to say Tappy did a great job.
What about you, Ollie? What are you feeling as you approach tonight's grand final? You've had a fairly luckless run. I know you haven't been happy with your form, and you've been plagued with constant mechanical problems. I guess tonight you'll get some pride out of the fact that you possibly can storm back and finish with a late flourish.
Yeah, well, I definitely try. I have to say that everything is gone wrong for me, whatever could go wrong, but being such a great venue and all these great places we see now, I still have to say that it's been great fun.
Good on you, mate. Good luck.
Good on you. Thank you.
Well, the Victorian champion, Lee Adams, you've been one of the most consistent riders right throughout the 13-round tournament. A few butterflies and a lot of adrenaline going into tonight's grand final.
Yeah, I feel pretty relaxed, really, David. Obviously, the pressure's off us, but you know, it's on for Australian to win, really. Pretty desperate to do it. It's the last one. We're running out of rounds, so this is the one to go for. Obviously, it's the penultimate round, and you know, it's bigger and better than the rest. And you know, it'd just be great to come home with a win.
Yeah, Lee, are you surprised by the fact that we've now completed 12 rounds of this grueling tournament, and yet an Australian hasn't won a round? It's staggering to me.
Yeah, it is. I just can't believe it, honestly. You know, between Boise, Crumbie and Bully and the likes of, you know, the whole lot of us, really. We've had opportunities, home track advantages and things like that, but, you know, to be fair, the foreigners have been fantastic, and they've rode brilliantly, yeah.
What do you think this event has achieved for Australian Speedway?
Well, it's gave its new heights. You know, it's fantastic, and all I can see is it's just going to get bigger and better, which I think is great. I'm looking forward to next year, and you know, coming back, better machinery, and hopefully win the thing.
Looking from where you are, who's going to take out the championship?
Well, I think Tony's going to be very hard to beat. He's pretty determined, but then you look at Simon on big tracks, he's fantastic. So it's going to be really, really close, and it should be a really, really well fought battle.
Yeah. Well, now joining me is Sam Ermolenko, running 3rd in the championship as we approach tonight's grand final. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, hopefully the weather stays on our side. I'm really kicking myself for the early kind of bad start I had to the series, but it's come on really well at the end, and I'm looking forward to tonight's event.
How are you approaching it from a psychological point of view? I mean, obviously Tony and Simon, the two ahead of you, are going to be hard to beat, but there's no risk in the world you can win it. You're going to need a bit of luck, though.
This is it. I mean, I can only hope that I can win it, and Tony and Simon have a bad night. That would give me a chance of winning the series. But the most important thing at this stage is figured out some of the problems that we had earlier on, and we got them sorted now, and I'm really looking forward to performing well, just to let everybody know that you know, I really could have been there.
I guess what you've got to do tonight is very simply put 6 perfect rides together.
This is it. I mean, obviously the most important one is the final at the end, and to make the final. So that's our first objective. Once we get through that, then it's strategy plays on what the track conditions are later on in the meeting.
Sam, you came to Australia, one of your major goals, apart from taking part in this historic event, was to get fit after having had surgery only, I guess, 4 weeks before the start of this. Has that worked the way you thought it would?
I feel extremely happy with the progress I've made, and maybe having mechanical troubles early on in the series was a bit of a blessing, because then I wasn't right in the midst of things where all the action was. It kind of gave me the chance to focus on just my ability at a lower standard as far as making the top finals. But I know now that that's made a definite result towards the end of it all, and I got to be happy pulling back. I think I was in 12th place at one time, to pull back, to come back to knocking on the door of having a chance of winning the series.
Been nice to have you down under. Good luck tonight.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, Greg Hancock, your first visit to Australia in the summer of 1995 to take part in this event. Has it lived up to expectations for you?
It sure has. You know, I came in with the attitude of not really knowing what to expect, but I had high expectations, and I really came here sort of taking it as a learning experience, but it's been even more successful than that. I learned a lot. I got to travel around Australia. I had the opportunity to meet a lot of really great people, and Coney Shock Absorbers, the people that sponsored me to help me out, and as well as all the guys from Series 500. So that's been quite an experience for me.
Greg, have you been happy overall with your form?
I've been pretty happy. There's a few meetings that I'm sort of looking down on myself on, but you know, you gotta take the bad with the good, and you know, you gotta keep plugging away, and hopefully next time around, if I get the chance next year when you do it again, I'll better myself once again.
I'll bet you're looking forward to tonight. You probably had one of your worst meetings of the tournament at this very racetrack about a month ago.
That's right. It was. I think I was a victim of a little bit maybe track conditions. I wasn't ready for it. I did have a few mechanical problems that probably hit me in the back of the head, and those are the things you got to put behind you, and you got to come back like into this meeting tonight. I'm still lying 7th in the series, and with a good performance tonight, I could maybe get up once. Well, I don't know about 2 places, but I'll be giving it my best shot.
Greg, you race obviously at the highest level in World Speedway. You're currently ranked world number 4, and obviously you've got a reputation that everybody watching this tape would be well aware of. Have you found that this tournament has been tougher from a competition point of view than you thought?
Well, it sure has, because you're competing against some of these guys that I'll be racing against are the local guys that you might not compete against on a regular basis, and you come onto their home territory, and they can be so hard to beat. You degrade them a little bit. You might not think they're there, and all of a sudden there they are right in front of you, and you're trying to do everything to get by them. But I gotta take this as a big experience, and it just goes to show you can't take any race thinking it's going to be an easy one. Every one of them is going to be hard, and that's the way any sport should really be.
Craig Boyce has said often in the last couple of weeks that the standard of competition has been almost like a world final. Is that fair comment?
Oh, that's fair comment, totally. I mean, you race guys, this field has been so tough, and every race I go out there, I'm like, oh man, this isn't going to be easy, and every track's different, and you just gotta, like I said, you gotta go out there with a positive attitude and be as confident as you can, and give those guys the same sort of effect that they might give on you.
Good luck, Greg.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
I guess you're not feeling as fit as you'd like to heading into tonight's grand final. You had a terrible crash at Gosford. How are the aching bones?
Well, yeah, you're right. I had a bad crash at Gosford, but fortunately this is the last meeting, and I think everybody's going for it. You know, it's pretty close. Fortunately, I can't win it, but you know, I'm going to go out there and try to destroy it for the top guys and just do my best and have fun.
It's a marvellous stadium. Obviously, you race right around the world. How would you rate the Exhibition Speedway?
Oh, this is one of the top places. I mean, great stadium, the crowd's good, and the racing tonight is going to be super. And I mean, I can't wait for it. Last time we were here, firework was good and the racing was good, so let's just wait and see what happens.
You must have learned a lot on your Australian tour so far.
Oh yeah, I've learned a lot. I mean, you learn a lot every day, and it's been very good for me, good experience. You know, I haven't done as well as I wanted to do, but hopefully I'll get the chance next year and come back and show the flag.
All right, Jakob Olsen, good luck to you tonight. Now joining us is the other rider from Denmark, Jens Steckman, who's actually been to Australia before. This is his second time, currently ranked a world number 10. You've enjoyed yourself so far, I know that.
Yeah, I certainly have, Dave. It's been really good being part of the Series 500 Challenge, and we've gotten pretty much all over Australia, starting in Western Australia, moving all the way around. And I've really enjoyed looking at, getting to all the new places and racing all the new tracks.
It's been a grueling test of the toughest, obviously travelling so many kilometres, about 20,000 kilometres in total, and so many different styles of racetracks.
Yeah, I think that's part of the excitement about Australia. We get to race at huge circuits like Bunbury and Claremont in Western Australia, and then we go to down to Gosford, which is probably one of the best tracks I've ridden for a long, long time. And that's part of the excitement. That's part of the challenge to us riders.
You're well regarded across the world as being one of the sport's ultimate perfectionists and obviously highly professional. Have you been satisfied with your form? You started pretty strongly. You were very competitive in Western Australia. Again at Mildura, obviously you won the Geelong round. Have you been happy after that point in time?
you're never happy, are you? I mean, it's been up and down. I'm pretty pleased with I've been pretty consistent in the top 10, you know, around 7th, 8th place all the time. You know, the Aussie boys are really fast on their home turf. And also you got a ultimate field here. You know, you got the world champion, world long track champion, last year's world champion. You know, these are tough guys, you know. So I think I should be happy.
Well, Crumpy, you've been undergoing intensive physiotherapy leading up to tonight. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, David, I'm feeling quite good. When the tapes go up in the first race, it'll all be in the back of my mind, and I'm just wound up to go out and hopefully win tonight.
I'd suggest, Jason, as you'd be well aware, you'll be riding with the hopes of about 15,000 Queensland fans here tonight.
Yeah, that's right, and as I said, when the tapes go up, I'm sure the pain will be behind me, and hopefully I can win a round of this, or at least one of the Aussie guys can, because we need to show the Europeans that we're good on our home tracks. We haven't done it quite yet, and tonight's the last one, so we've got to do it tonight.
Well, Boise, under fairly inclement weather conditions, we're now on the centre green of the Brisbane exhibition ground for the grand final. A big crowd starting to roll in. You've had a marvellous series so far. I'll bet you want to go out with a blaze of glory tonight.
Yeah, I'll be trying 110% tonight to win the meeting. Thanks very much, Shane Parker. I'm on a borrowed motor tonight, and fingers crossed that will go all right, and maybe we can come away with a win.
You've had, frankly, wretched luck mechanically in recent times, haven't you?
Yeah, I've had a lot of carburetor problems on the laydown at the start of the series, and then I blew a motor up at Melbourne, my first heat, and I'm running out of equipment, but the frame's been breaking. There's been a grueling series, you know, it's tough and it's hard racing, and the tracks have been really hard, and but I've enjoyed it. It's been good.
You've enjoyed it that much compared to Europe?
Yeah, well, you take a busy couple of months in Europe, and it's more or less the same thing. It's just the distance between tracks, I suppose, 12 hours here and there, and other than that, it's as hard as ever, and it's probably a harder series than what you put together in England.
Okay, Craig Boyce joining us at the Exhibition Speedway. Now stepping in is the entertainer from South Australia, Shane Parker. Without a doubt, the most improved rider in the last half dozen rounds or so. Well done on that.
Yeah, I mean, I started off blowing up a motor in the first round, which has been a case with a lot of the riders. Bikes are blowing up, but finally got them sorted out, and been putting in some good meetings and going quite well, so I just hope to keep it up tonight.
Obviously, riders tend to go well when they're going well and enjoying themselves, and you seem to be a lot happier, obviously, since you've been back on the pace.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it helps your confidence, and you feel a lot better in yourself, and you probably got that little bit extra that normally you wouldn't have if you weren't feeling confident. Last few meetings has been happening for me, and I just hope I can make it to the A final tonight.
What's going through your mind at the moment? Obviously, you've got really nothing to lose. You can go for broke, and I guess anything's possible.
Well, I mean, that's what I aim to do tonight. I've got nothing to lose, and I'm going to be putting in 110% and hopefully beat all these internationals and beat most of the Aussies too, I hope.
Good on you, Shane, one of the most entertaining riders on the tour so far. And now stepping in is the man we refer to as Mr. Excitement, Mick Poole, who's had some outstanding meetings and I guess, Mick, some disappointing ones from your point of view.
Yeah, it didn't start off very good for me. New bike and everything. Had a couple of blow-ups like a lot of people have done. I finished second in Adelaide, and you know, I got pretty close to winning in that, and there hasn't been an Aussie winner yet. There's been a lot on the rostrum, and hopefully, you know, me or one of the other guys can win tonight.
Everyone is talking tonight about whether Tony Ricardson will win, whether Simon Wigg can win, whether Sam Ermolenko can win. Obviously, they're the three guys with the most pressure because mathematically they all can win the series. You're one of the riders very capable of upsetting the apple cart for either one of those three.
Yeah, well, being realistically, everyone's out there to beat each other, and you know, those three guys, like you said, are in the top points, and those three can win it. Wiggy's been leading most of the series up until the last round, so he's going to be going all out to beat Tony, but I know Tony is a world champion and he's going to be very hard to beat.
This is a racetrack you enjoy riding?
Yeah, I love it. I love the atmosphere here, and it's a great track and just a great venue.
Now standing with New Zealand champion Mark Thorpe. It's been a very long tour, 8 weeks, all getting down to tonight's grand final.
Yes, it's been a really hard series so far. You know, the guys in the squad, you know, top guys in the world, and it's been a great experience for me to ride against these type of riders. And tonight is important with the top, say, 3 or 4. So that's going to make things really interesting. It's also important for guys like you. Whilst you can't win the series, you can certainly go out with a bang. Yeah, might be able to be the spoiler of the night or something like that, you know, upset the boys at the top, make things a little bit more interesting, but I'll be trying my best to even win tonight if I can. Now joining me is 19-year-old current South Australian champion Ryan Sullivan, who possibly came into the event as an underdog, mainly due to your lack of international experience, but you performed pretty well.
Yeah, that's right. I hadn't ridden against these guys very much, and I'd only had one season in England, but you know, it's been a great experience for me, and I've really enjoyed it. What's been the major aspect that's given you the experience that you speak of, riding against the world's best riders, all the different types of racetracks? I think a bit of both, really. I mean, you can't line up in a race and think, it's going to be easy, because every race is just so hard. You've got world-class riders, and on a track you don't know, it's just so hard, but it's just great experience.
Good luck tonight in the grand final, the big one.
Thanks a lot.
Well, the Grandmaster Simon Wigg now joins me trackside of the Exhibition Speedway in Brisbane. The grand final, you must be pretty nervous at the moment. You're in second spot, 6 points behind Rick Hartson. You can certainly get the job done.
Yeah, that's right, David, but obviously a lot less nervous than if I was 6 points in front and with them all breathing down my neck. I mean, it's all changed now. Instead of having everything to lose, I've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So it's really got a whole different aspect. The whole series has been sort of a bit of a pressure thing from the word go, really. Luckily being managed to have a bit of a lead for a few meetings, but now I've had a couple of bad meetings. I think I pinpointed what's really been the majority of the problem tonight, but it doesn't bring the points back, unfortunately. But I'm just hoping to have a good meeting tonight, and you never know what might happen to Tony if he runs a fourth in the final, or if he doesn't make the final. You never know. Anything happens in racing, and it usually does. So obviously I'm optimistic, but certainly not nervous at the moment.
Wiggy, you said that you've got nothing to lose. Do I read into that you're going to throw caution to the wind and really cut loose here tonight?
Well, obviously a place like the exhibition grounds, you can do that anyway, because it's fairly wide, and you can just get your head down a bit. So yeah, you can read into that what you like. I mean, obviously I've got nothing to lose, and I just want to win and go out on a win. Even if I'm not fortunate enough to win the series, at least it'd be nice to go out with a win in the last meeting, because always sort of people tend to remember your last night you had. So if I could have a good night tonight, I'll be quite happy. And you never know what might happen to Tony if he has a couple of things go not quite the way he wants them to. You never know.
This series has been very important to you from the outset of proceedings because of the new FIM Grand Prix for the World Championship. I know you're one of the riders deeply concerned about the manner in which that has been structured, and in real terms a rider of your calibre not having an opportunity to qualify in 1995. Am I correct in saying that unofficially this is your World Championship to show the world that you can beat these guys?
I suppose in a way. I mean, obviously I'm very disappointed not to be in the World Championships next year, as there are many other guys that feel they might have a chance of winning it, which throws the whole sport into a mockery, because there's every chance that next year the guy who's best in the world might not even be in the World Championship, which makes it all a bit of a farce, really. So the Series 500 challenge has really been something very important from the word go for me. Obviously the whole world's looking at this. There's nothing else going on at the moment worldwide. Obviously when the European season's going on, there's lots of events all over the place. It's very difficult to keep track on things, but at the moment this is the only thing, so everybody's looking at it, and for me it's very important. Obviously the World Championships are important, but not being in those anymore, it is important to do well in this, from that point of view. But, I want to do well anyway. Australia's been very kind to me. I've had a lot of great times here, and, I like to keep coming back. So obviously people are only going to want me back if I'm doing the business. So, I've got to keep my head up and just keep trying to win races.
A start now, just minutes away. Welcome to the Brisbane Exhibition Speedway in Queensland for the grand final of the 1995 Series 500 International Speedway Challenge. A marvellous crowd here, tremendous atmosphere, an event that we've all been looking forward to a great deal. The series has been a runaway success so far. Lance Robertson, sadly, the weather hasn't been on our side today. A lot of rain around Brisbane. In fact, light showers falling as we speak, but it hasn't dampened the enthusiasm of everybody here.
Yes, especially not the series leader, Tony Rickardsson. He's out there, a man on a mission. He's come from behind. Simon Wigg has been leading the series throughout most of the 12 previous rounds. Let's see if Rickardsson can answer the call this evening.
Riders on parade, 16 of them in total, including no less than 4 world champions, a star-studded cast of the fast. A very, very strong crowd in, and let's just hope the weather gods do the right thing and keep the rain away. There is the point score after 12 completed rounds. Rickardsson leads on 181, 6 points ahead of Simon Wigg. Then it's Sam Ermolenko, a further 6 points behind him, and then Craig Boyce fourth on 164. Each of those 4 riders mathematically have a chance of winning tonight, but for that to happen, Simon Wigg needs to have an absolute blinder, and Tony Rickardsson needs to have a very bad meeting indeed. Riders now assembled on the infield here at the Brisbane Exhibition Speedway as we now pause for the Australian National Anthem. biggest meetings in Australian speedway racing history as that camera walked down the line, Lance Robinson. I think it reflected the varying emotions of these riders. Some of them looked excited, others looked almost terrified, and others looked very patriotic, the Australians.
Yes, all 18 riders here on display, I should say 17, including the reserve. Concentration plus, and of course they know the weight that's on their shoulders here to perform well. Even the riders that are down the bottom end of the listing after 12 rounds, they're still involved in intense battles amongst themselves.
They certainly are. A lot of pride on the line here tonight, and a noticeable withdrawal. Just literally minutes before the meeting was former 6 times Queensland State champion Troy Butler. He's been replaced by Clinton Butler, and Colin Wallace will be the first and only reserve. There is Mick Poole on screen as we get set now for battle in the first 4-lap heat. And what a tremendous foursome we have here to do battle. Tony Rickardson will start on the inside, Lee Adams beside him. Then it's Mick Poole and the American champion Greg Hancock as we go racing. And Tony Rickardson, the 24-year-old world champion, was best to begin. Greg Hancock, though, is certainly throwing out the challenge from the opening stanza in this event. But Rickardson now finds his way back onto the main straight. In the meantime, Lee Adams, our former world under-21 champion, slingshots up on the inside of Greg Hancock. And Lee Adams now consolidates second on the racetrack. Not a bad motor race here to get proceedings underway, and the crowd are really pumped at the Brisbane Exhibition ground. Race leader is Tony Rickardson, main straightaway. Lee Adams, though, one gets the feeling, is going to fight right down to the checkered flag. He moves a fair bit closer now. He's shaken the challenge off of Greg Hancock, who's languishing back in third, and further back and struggling in fourth is Mick Poole. You're watching the battle, though, between Tony Rickardson and Lee Adams. They're separated by about 3 metres on the racetrack. Down the main straight they come. Yellow flag on display. There's 1 lap of the 400-metre Brisbane Exhibition Speedway to run, and this one is all Tony Rickardson. A superb way to start the night. He comes into the series as the leader and a warm favourite for tonight's racing. He comes off turn 4. It's the checkered flag time for 24-year-old Tony Rickardson. In second spot, it was Lee Adams, who really did turn in a tremendously spirited ride there, and Mick Poole ended up getting by on the inside of Greg Hancock for third in a race time Lance of 66.21.
Yes, a good ride from Mick Poole from New South Wales to get up the inside of Hancock. He was very determined to make all ends that he possibly could and scored 1 valuable point. Heat number 2 now, Ollie Tyvanen will start on the inside in the red. Sam Ermolenko, former world champion, Stephen Davies in the white, and Australia's most successful rider in 1994, Craig Boyce, on the extreme outside. World number 1, world number 3 for him, and 3 times back-to-back New South Wales champion. All in readiness now for heat number 2 in the final round, and away they go. Tyvanen got a fairly good start, but there goes Sam Ermolenko. He's shown them a clean set of hills at the moment, but here comes Boyce round the outside. Ermolenko back on the inside, he answers the call, and moving up into third placing is Stephen Davies, with the luckless Tyvanen tailing out at the rear of the field. Well, Ermolenko leads them onto the main straight for the first of 4 laps here, and he's doing a great job riding the bike hands and heels. Boyce, don't underestimate his determination. He tears a strip off the front of his blazer, he cleans his eyesight, and he's now set his sights firmly on Sam Ermolenko out in front. Look at the rooster tail of Ermolenko. He's riding that bike virtually hands and heels. Boyce is determined, though. He answers the call and comes back up again about half race distance, and Boyce hasn't given up. Neither's Davies back there in third placing, but Tyvanen tails right out at the rear of the field. Well, Ermolenko comes onto the straight, signified 1 more lap to go by the yellow flag. Will he be able to do it, or will Boyce run him down right to the wire? Boyce will give it all, but Ermolenko, I think, has got too much. He heads into Machinery Hill turn, turns 3 and 4 for the last time, and the American is a very happy chappy indeed. He gets the accolades of the crowd. Boyce a good second, Davies in third, and unfortunately for Tyvanen, tailed out, I should say, in last placing, race time 66.57.
Very fine win there by the 1993 World Speedway champion Sam Ermolenko, and I can assure you that no team has worked harder than that of Sam's leading up to tonight's grand final. Well, here comes a good race, heat number 3 in the grand final of the Series 500 Car Care Products International Speedway Challenge. There's the man, Simon Wigg, with a lot of pressure on his shoulders. Clinton Butler will ride from the inside. Then it's Wigg, Mark Thorpe, and on the extreme outside is Jakob Olsen riding in yellow. Tapes fly now. A great view there, a great shot of the big crowd in the main grandstand as we go racing. And Clinton Butler, the local boy, got an outstanding start, but here comes the 5 times world long track champion. Simon Wigg rounded him up and went by so quickly on the outside that poor old Clinton Butler almost caught pneumonia with the breeze. Race leader, though, Simon Wigg, at the end of the main straight the first time round, is already starting to assert his marvellous superiority on this meeting, and Simon Wigg is cleared out in no uncertain terms. He leads Clinton Clinton Butler. Oh, Butler breaks down there. He has a problem. That hence enables Mark Thorpe to move up one more spot up on the inside, and that subsequently also moved Jakob Olsen up now into third, which is fairly fortuitous for the Danish rider. No doubting the race leader, though. It's the 5 times and reigning world long track champion, Simon Wigg. And look at this boy go. The Fraser Motorcycles Jawa is clearing out with this one. He's leading by a good 30 metres, Simon Wigg. A big track, this one. He loves it, and he's very much a momentum rider, and this racetrack provides that. Look at Wigg, all style, all class, off turn number 4, and this one is Simon Wigg in a canter. He takes it in a breeze. Checkered flag on display for him. Look how long it took for Mark Thorpe to come through into second. Then further back in third, it was Jakob Olsen. And look out, Tony Rickardson. There is a firing shot from Simon Wigg. He's here to win tonight, 65.31.
Yes, a great ride from Wigg. Bad luck for the local hero, though, Clinton Butler, blowing up his motor halfway through the race. He got a great start there and led the world long track champion for, oh, well, a momentary time anyway. In heat number 4, we've got on the inside Jan Stackman. He'll start in the red helmet colour. In the blue is Shane Parker. Ryan Sullivan, the current South Australian champion, and the current Australian champion, Jason Crump, on the extreme outside in the yellow helmet. Stackman, he won down in Geelong. He's had a fairly up and down sort of series, but he's been relatively consistent with point scoring in the all-important finals. Can Stackman do it from the inside? The Series 500 tapes, up they go, and out goes Stackman. Here comes the lean green racing machine of Parker, though. He tries the high, wide and handsome line. Will he have enough intestinal fortitude to hold onto it? He hasn't. He backs off. That allows Stackman to get further in front by at least a couple of bike lengths now, as he leads them onto the main straight to end the first lap. And poor old Jason Crumpy's got problems back there, but now he comes on like the proverbial gangbuster back there in third placing. But Stackman, the superiority of the Danish rider as he leads them around Machinery Hill for the second time. But Parker, he's not given up the ghost yet as he comes past the strike line with 2 more laps to go. And Crump is even closer as I speak to Parker's rear wheel. But Stackman, look at the grace, the style, the dexterity of the Danish rider as he leads the field down the back straight. Here's the battle for Crump. And of course Parker, they're battling it out for second and third placing as Stackman gets the yellow flag signifying 1 more lap to go. I don't think anybody's going to stop Stackman here tonight. He's certainly putting down throwing the gauntlet down is what I'm meaning to say. But the battle between Crump and Parker. Crump looms up on the outside of Parker as Stackman kicks on. He gets the checkered flag. A good battle for second and third. Green Parker in second placing, Crump in third placing, and poor Ryan Sullivan tailing out at the rear of the field. Race time 65.21.
Yes, that's the kind of thing, Lance, you were talking about during the introduction. There will be lots of battles within battles here tonight as they fight for pride as well as speedway supremacy. A fine win there by the dashing Dane Jan Stackman, who has been extremely consistent throughout this 13-round series. And this crowd at the Brisbane Exhibition Speedway still continues to build. And also the anticipation continues to build. The world champion Tony Rickardson, who started off superbly tonight with a great win, returns to the racetrack, heat number 5. Ollie Tervainen beside him. Also in this one is Mark Thorpe, the New Zealand champion, riding in yellow-black from the extreme outside. And over on the inside, it's our newly crowned, 19 years of age, Australian national champion Jason Crump, who now moves up to the start line. He'll ride in red. And a fair bit of feeling between he and obviously Tony Rickardson. They're both young lions in this sport, both heavy hitters on the world speedway scene, and they always want to beat each other very, very badly. This sport, like many others, a battle of psychology. Jason Crump on the inside now does a spot of gardening on this 400-metre racetrack. They now line up behind the Series 500 starting tapes. Tony Rickardson on the O'Brien aluminium Jawa now moves forward. And it'll be just what the doctor ordered for him if he can post another win here. Ollie Tervainen in white, he's had a disappointing tour, but who knows what to expect from the Flying Finn. And Mark Thorpe on the outside. Let's get set now for 4 laps. They go racing. A pretty good even start. Rickardson possibly got the best of it. Jason Crump also quickly into stride, and Ollie Tervainen, he winds up the horsepower. Tervainen goes around the outside of Crump and Rickardson. Crump says, "You are kidding, aren't you?" He wants to fight back on the inside and makes a rush, but the Flying Finn, Ollie Tervainen, in the finest ride of his series quest so far, takes the race lead and leaves in his wake none other than the reigning Australian champion and the World Speedway champion. You're watching him now, 35 years of age, Based in Austria, in fact, this fellow. Olli Tervainen, main straightaway now, a former Swedish long track champion and a former world finalist. He heads them down the back section in what is going to be the boil over of the series. Jason Crump in second. Rickardsson, I think he's a little shell-shocked at the moment. He can't believe it. Crump now is going to make a race out of this one as he chases Olli Tervainen down the main straightaway. But the Torco Racing Oils jar of Tervainen is looking the goods at the moment. Here comes Jason Crump now. He moves a fair bit closer. A couple of corners left to negotiate. Olli Tervainen is going to do it. And the Flying Finn comes off turn number 4 in a beauty. Good on you, Olli. He defeats Jason Crump in second, and a shell-shocked, a totally and utterly surprised Tony Rickardsson further back in third in a race time of 65.69.
Well, David Tapp, I don't know what it was that Ollie took in that break, but I certainly want half of it. By far and away the best race in the series for Olli Tervainen. Well done to the Flying Finn. Heat number 6. About ready to come your way as the riders now come out onto the circuit. Shane Parker will take his place in the red helmet colour. Colin Wallace, the reserve rider, is in to replace Clinton Butler. Blown motor for Clinton. Bad luck for the local hero. He'll take no further part in the program. Former 3 times back-to-back national champion Lee Adams from Mildura in the white helmet colour. He'll start in grid position 3. And on the extreme outside, the Novocastrian Stephen Davies riding for Quick Snacks, Fraser Motorcycles and Shell Oils.
Lance, I think it's fair to say that Lee Adams, by his very high standards and our very high expectations of him, has been just a touch disappointing in this series. And I don't mean to sound overly severe on the kid. I mean, he's still running 6th in the championship and has been a major force throughout. I can't believe he hasn't won a round.
Yes, indeed. I believe the same as you, David. And also, we get to see an Australian take victory in a round so far. And here we are, the 13th and final round. Can Lee Adams do it for Australia tonight? Parker on the inside, then Wallace, Adams next to him, and on the extreme outside, Davies. Up go the Series 500 tapes, and Lee Adams leads. Parker on the inside of him. Here comes Stephen Davies, the Novocastrian train winding up around the outside, backs off there. But Adams, look at the style. That's the style it took him to 3 back-to-back national champions, and you don't get that good for not trying your hardest. Parker back in second place. A good battle going on between Wallace in 4th, and back there in 3rd trying to defend that position is young Stephen Davies. Well, Parker, he's going to hound Adams all the way to the finish line there as they come down past Machinery Hill again onto the main straight. 2 laps down and 2 to go, and Adams certainly hasn't got it all his own way. Having said that, he's found a bit of extra drive this time through turns 1 and 2. He's kicked away to a handy lead now, and still Davies is being hounded by the reserve rider Wallace. Oh, Wallace almost got his front wheel knocked out by the rear of Davies's bike there. And as Adams leads the field with only 4 more corners to go, Parker has got his head down. He's certainly in the business now of trying to get as close as he can to Adams. I don't think he's going to do it though, as Adams comes around turns 3 and 4 onto the main straight for the last time. He'll grit the checkered flag, and a great win for Lee Adams. Second placing goes to Shane Parker from South Australia, and Newcastle, New South Wales. Of course, Stephen Davies in 3rd placing, 66.60 seconds a race time.
A fine win there by Lee Adams. Pardon me. Stephen Davies tonight debuting a brand new laid-down motorcycle supplied to him courtesy of his sponsor Quick Snacks, who of course also sponsor Mick Poole and Jason Crump as we now get set for the next heat. This is heat number 7, another 4-lap journey. Jan Stackman will line up against Simon Wiggs, Sam Ermolenko and Mick Poole will ride in yellow-black from the extreme outside. Well, Jan Stackman, last time he rode here back in January, of course this venue chosen to host 2 rounds including tonight's grand final. Stackman was very powerful on that occasion. He started very well tonight. Mick Poole is never to be disregarded or discounted around this circuit. He loves his track and goes very well here. Sam Ermolenko, well, you saw it. He started in powerhouse fashion, and obviously Simon Wick did exactly the same thing. So we've got here, in fact, 3 guys clashing that ultimately won their first heats tonight, and we look forward to this one a great deal. Sam Ermolenko, currently 3rd in the series, mathematically can win tonight, but for that to happen, Wig and Rickardsson really need to miss the final, and obviously Ermolenko needs to win it. But some fascinating equations, a magnificent venue, this one, the world-famous Brisbane Exhibition Speedway. The Fraser Motorcycles Jower of the 5 times and reigning world long track champion Simon Wig now on screen. Ermolenko, the first rider to move forward. Now it's Jan Stackman and the former New South Wales champion Mick Poole, who also rides for Oxford. Ironically, he's just signed with Peterborough, though, in the brand new Super League in Division 1 British Speedway. We're now set for a start and away we go. The clash of the world champions here, Ermolenko and Wig. They are drag racing to the first corner. And look at Mick Poole as well. They run down the back straight, almost 3 wide. Ermolenko has the best of it. No place for the faint-hearted here, let me tell you. Mick Poole goes by on the outside of Simon Wig in a magnificent manoeuvre. Wig now switches to the outside of the racetrack. It's Sam Ermolenko, the race leader. Mick Poole is dicing with Simon Wig. Tremendous speedway racing here as they spread eagle their way through the dirt here at the Yakka. Ermolenko race leader. Wig blasts by on the outside of Mick Poole and now relegates that rider back to third on the circuit. Well, here we have the clash of the champions. Ermolenko's the race leader. Wig is trying extremely hard and Wig rushes up behind the back of Sam Ermolenko there. Both of them noticeably riding out wider on the track now in quest of dirt. Ermolenko is white hot here tonight, very, very fast, getting plenty of drive and plenty of traction. Yellow flag on display. There's half a lap now of the 400-metre Ekka to negotiate. Ermolenko race leader. No change in the order. Wig is still second. In fact, Wig has given up momentarily in this one. Ermolenko across the strike. A very powerful performance. By him. I'll get it right now. In second spot it was Simon Wig. In third it was Mick Poole. And look at the race time. A 64.71 second journey.
Yes, great stuff for Sudden Sam Ermolenko, and he's certainly happy too. He's already won one previous round on a maximum. Will he do the same again tonight? Well, heat number 8 coming your way. We'll see Greg Hancock in the red helmet colour riding for Coney Shock Absorbers on board his GM. There he is sliding up to the start line now. He'll start from the red from 1. In the blue from 2, it's Craig Boyce, Skilled Engineering, backing his campaign on this series, and of course he'd like to thank them very much for the support that they've shown him throughout this series. Can he do it for Australia? Jakob Olsen on board the Splitfire Sparkflux GM will start in the white from 3, and the Oddfellows SA1 GM, ridden by Ryan Sullivan from South Australia, will be in the yellow, grid position number 4. Well, Greg Hancock, he's won a couple of rounds throughout the series as well, and he's done exceptionally well for Coney Shock Absorbers. There's Jakob Olsen. He'll start in the white from 3, and Ryan Sullivan just clearing his visor there. These riders, of course, with all the heat inside their bodies, their suits, they tend to fog up the glasses. The last thing you want is mist across your eyes at the start line. Bob Johnson, the start control official, walks away now as the tapes are set ready to fly, and away they go. Hancock read that like a dream. Craig Boyce is snaking all over there. Here comes Ryan Sullivan around the outside of both of them, and he takes up the running in no uncertain terms. Well, Ryan Sullivan leads at the moment in the yellow helmet colour as they head down the back straight through Machinery Hill. Look at this, Craig Boyce, world number 3. He's rounded up the current American champion, Greg Hancock, right round the outside of him in no uncertain style, and now he's got the business ahead of him of trying to run down fellow Australian, the South Australian Ryan Sullivan. Look at Boyce getting maximum drive there through the turns and down the straight. His left leg is being hit by the rooster tail that's being spread out from the power of the bike in front of him. Now he switches to the inside line. He's looking for a way around Sullivan. Will he be able to do it? I think he might get better drive round the outside. Yes, he does indeed. They come across the strike line, getting one more lap to go, and Boyce takes up the running at this stage, relegating Ryan Sullivan back to second placing. This is a battle amongst the Australians, and Craig Boyce has dealt out the superior hand at this stage, but Sullivan's not giving up. It's going to go right down to the wire. Will Sullivan get up the inside? No, he won't. Put your hands together for Boise, folks. A great run for the New South Welshman. In second placing there, of course, the Oddfellows SA1 GM, ridden by South Australian champion Ryan Sullivan, and in third placing was Greg Hancock, the American.
Well, what can I say? Between watching Craig Boyce and listening to you, I was excited. 66.78 seconds. 66.78 seconds in a cracker. And didn't the crowd enjoy that one here at the Ekka as well? Next heat now comes your way. The Oddfellows entry of Ryan Sullivan returns to the racetrack. So too does the Super Swede aboard the O'Brien Aluminium Jower, Tony Rickardson. Over on the inside, it is Stephen Davies, former 3 times New South Wales champion, the Newcastle Express. And another 4-lap journey ahead of us here. The racing is getting better and better. The racetrack is getting faster and faster. And the other man in this race is, of course, the legendary Simon Wig, the winner of more than 500 individual events. He'll start from the extreme outside. Rickardson and Wig, a big psychological advantage, about to go one way or the other as we get set to go speedway racing. And Rickardson and also Wig got away on very equal terms. Stephen Davies got a pretty good start over on the inside, but Tony Rickardson over the top of the handlebars, almost road racing style. He takes the race lead. Simon Wig, I think, will be a little surprised by the manner in which Tony Rickardson was able to pull away with him. Further back in third, it's Stephen Davies, and forget about the other one. Back straight away now. You're looking at Simon Wigg on screen, currently second in this event, and there's the gap between he and obviously Tony Rickardson, who races now underneath Machinery Hill out of turn number 4, and Tony Rickardson has this one well and truly under control. Simon Wigg is struggling just a little bit by his very high standards, and certainly Tony Rickardson, barring mechanical failure, is in no danger of defeat here. He comes off turn 4 for another time. He'll see the yellow flag on display. One lap of the Ecker to run, and Rickardson is really looking very stylish out there. Just what the doctor ordered for his confidence to post a win over his nearest rival in this series, Simon Wigg. And Rickardson, the 24-year-old world speedway champion, off turn number 4, and he does it in a coast, let me tell you. Does it easily, pulling up on the line. Simon Wigg was second. Stephen Davies, I think you'll find, will finish third, and looking forward to the race time, 64.72. So Rickardson, another man to drift into the 64-second barrier.
Yes, he receives the accolades from Simon Wigg there. Does Tony Rickardson, our race winner? Well, folks, unfortunately, due to technical difficulties with our cameras, we cannot bring you heat number 10. However, we can tell you that the ex-Australian champion, Lee Adams, posted a victory over Jan Stackman in second place, Jakob Olsen in third. Unfortunately, Ollie Tyvainen had mechanical problems and did not finish in a race time of 66 seconds dead. Heat number 11 coming your way. It sees Craig Boyce in the red from 1, Mark Thorpe, the New Zealand champion, on board the Snap-on Tools GM in the blue from 2, Mick Poole in the white from 3, and Shane Parker on board the Premier Panels AP Cox & Company GM in the yellow on the extreme outside. This should be a cracker as well. 3 Aussies up against the New Zealander. Will the New Zealander be able to do it? He hasn't had the best of series by his standard. Up go the Series 500 tapes, and away goes Craig Boyce on the inside. Boy, gee, he got a great start there. He's a good bike and a half length over the rest of the field, with Mick Poole battling it out there in second place. Third placing looming up on the outside of him there is Shane Parker. He won't give up. He's certainly a tryer, the South Australian lad, but Craig Boyce from New South Wales leads the field in no uncertain terms, and he's extended that length of lead by another good bike length or so over Mick Poole. He's back there in second placing at the moment in the white helmet colour, and in third placing it's still Shane Parker, the lean green racing machine. Across the strike line they go, 2 down and 2 to go, and it's Craig Boyce, world number 3 this man is, 3 times back-to-back New South Wales champion, and he's leading fellow New South Walesman Mick Poole in second place. Poole got some good drive there. He's within striking distance as they receive the last lap to go flag, but back there too far away in third placing is Shane Parker. So it's the New South Walesman that will battle it out right down to the wire. Craig Boyce seems to have got his line right. He's riding about mid-track, but here comes Poole. He's gone a little bit wide, so too did Boyce, but Boyce has got it from here. Craig Boyce in first, Mick Poole in second placing, and the South Australian Shane Parker finishing just ahead of New Zealand champion Mark Thorpe.
The class act Sydney's Craig Boyce, reigning world number 3 after his fine rostrum placing behind Tony Rickardson and Hans Nielsen at Vojens in Denmark on August 20 last year. Hasn't he matured, not just as a rider, but as a person as well? Now the supreme professional, and for mine, the undisputed number 1 Australian rider, Craig Boyce. There is another very fine Australian rider, the reigning national champion, Jason Crump. He's now on screen on the Quick Snacks GM. He's had a very, very strong series, and I guess you could say he's been a little unlucky on occasions. He had a very nasty fall last week at Gosford in the penultimate round, and a nasty fall the week before that at Melbourne as well. In fact, Crumpy has undergone intensive physiotherapy and is less than 100% fit heading into tonight's grand final. That is Greg Hancock on the Coney shock absorbers entry, 24 years of age from California. Colin Wallace, the reserve. Boy, oh boy, what a big occasion for him as he lines up beside the 1993 World Speedway champion Sam Ermolenko in this one. A good field. Colin Wallace has been fairly impressive. In fact, I hadn't heard a lot about this guy until we really got to the exhibition speedway tonight, but I think he can hold his head high. He's mixed it in some of the world's best speedway company. Good shot. They now line up behind the Series 500 starting tapes. Bob Johnson is happy. He moves away from his mark. We're waiting now for the start, and away they go. Jason Crump was left languishing just a touch on the inside. Best to begin with the 2 Americans, Greg Hancock and Sam Ermolenko. They began almost as one, in fact, but Ermolenko clears out with superior horsepower. He goes right around the outside and leads Hancock, and Crump became very close there. He got very close to the back of Greg Hancock's machine and did very well to keep it on 2 wheels. Sam Ermolenko, though, is running white hot here tonight, certainly on his way to another victory here, barring mechanical failure. Greg Hancock doing a good job, and he hangs on for grim death in second spot. Then it's Jason Crump in third, and Colin Wallace certainly not disgraced in this class of company. Further back in fourth, well, Ermolenko has a little sneaky peeky over the left shoulder. He can see his fellow countryman Greg Hancock in second spot. Ermolenko now rounds out of corner number 4, races under Machinery Hill, takes the yellow flag, and this fellow Sam Ermolenko is all class here tonight at the Exhibition Speedway. He's raced here several times before, Sudden Sam, and you are watching one of the world's greatest speedway riders in action. He runs through the dirt here, picks up a little bit of drive off turn number 4. He takes it oh so easily, Sudden Sam. He emerges victorious. In second spot, it's the 24-year-old Californian Greg Hancock. Further back in third, frankly a long way back in the end, was Jason Crump, and the race time 65.38, which would indicate to me Ermolenko was doing it easily.
Yes, he certainly looked like he was doing it very, very easily indeed, and Ermolenko a great victory there. And Colin Wallace, well, what can you say? The youngster, he's certainly outclassed in this field, but certainly not disgraced. Heat number 13 coming your way. It sees the return of the previous race winner, Sam Ermolenko. He has 3 wins from 3 starts. It's a little bit hard to concentrate on the racing.
That was Sam Ermolenko. I'm a Dutchman. Yes, indeed. I suppose now you're going to tell me that's Bo Derek.
Well, how can you answer to that? All I was going to say was, I'm sorry, Southern Sam, but you lose out, because our Series 500 Car Care Products girls, they've been spectacular throughout the series, and deservedly, they got the camera shot that they deserve. Now, seriousness, folks. Ermolenko on the inside in the red. In the blue, it's Olsen. In the white, it's Parker. And Tony Ricardson, or Bo Derek, as David would call him, on the extreme outside. They're all set for 4 laps the journey here in this heat number 13 out of the 20 qualifying heats, as Sudden Sam Ermolenko comes up, peers around the outside of our cameraman there, does a little bit of gardening, which is rather customary at the start line in Speedway solo circles, because the all-important drive out of the start is very, very important indeed to see whether you can accomplish the whole shot into turn number 1 and get ahead of your fellow competitor. David Tapp, you could say that the start is very, very important. It often wins or loses a race for drop riders.
Certainly does, and that theory applies to most forms of motorsport, but very, very important in Speedway. I just like to see a racetrack good enough to allow them to pass from the back, and we've got that here tonight.
Yes, we have. As the Series 500 tapes up, they go, and Ermolenko's gardening paid off for him. He's now out ahead of the world champion, Tony Ricardson. Back there in third placing is Shane Parker, and tailing out the field at the moment is Jakob Olsen from Denmark. Well, will Ermolenko continue the good form that's seen him take 3 wins from 3 starts? This is his 4th on the night. He's still got another one to go, and look at him stretch the lead out ahead of the world champion, the man that he couldn't beat in the world final throughout 1994, and that's the 24-year-old Swedish rider Tony Ricardson. A battle going on between 3rd and 4th placing at the rear of the field. Parker's got the upper hand over that, and Olsen is the other competitor. Well, Ermolenko looks as comfortable as you like, and he's certainly got time to even look across and eyeball his competitor if his vision is good enough to see that far back. Last lap now, the flag on display, and Ermolenko is doing it comfortably. His race time should reflect that, because he's now even got time to please the crowd with a wheel stand along the back straight. Through Machinery Hill he comes. Put your hands together, folks. He lines himself up to greet the checkered flag. A great race there for the American Sam Ermolenko first. In 2nd placing, Ricardson. 3rd placing, and a good effort there, Parker, who just held out Jakob Olsen in a time of 65.40 seconds.
Ermolenko, nothing short of awesome here tonight. Magnificent performance by him. The 1993 world champ. Boy, why didn't he do this at the start of the series when he had a couple of shocking meetings? And that's cost him very, very, very dearly. He's been super consistent, though, in the latter stages, and that's why he comes into tonight's grand final running 3rd. Heat number 14, again, a star-studded cast of riders here. There is Simon Wigg on the Fraser Motorcycles Jower. A lot of people around, not just Australia, around the world, feel a tad sorry for Simon Wigg. He's led this series from the outset of proceedings, bearing in mind it kicked off 8 weeks ago, 20,000 kilometres ago. That was in Bunbury, Western Australia. But at the penultimate round at Gosford, Tony Ricardson got past Simon Wigg, and now Wiggy's got all the pressure of the world on his shoulders. Lee Adams will line up in this one, so too will Jason Crump. A very, very good field. The Owen Brothers Dunlop entry of Lee Adams over on the inside. Craig Boyce in white in a terrific field here as we go Speedway racing. Lightning Lee Adams got a great start, so too did Boyce. But look at Simon Wigg. He churns through the soil here up high on the racetrack. And Simon Wigg leaves Craig Boyce and Lee Adams absolutely standing. The Simon Wigg superstar, the phenomenon. He runs down the main straightaway, Wiggy, and he's looking superb on the bike. I'll tell you what, Boyce and Lee Adams cannot believe it, and nor can I. You do not go past those two guys here so quickly unless you're an out-and-out superstar, and Simon Wigg is exactly that. He takes the race lead and is already drawing away. In fact, Simon Wigg is sprinting away with this one. He heads them now down the bottom couple of corners. He'll see the back straight away shortly. There's no change in the order further back in the field. It's still Adams and Boyce. As now you're watching Craig Boyce. He's up into second. He's relegated Lee Adams back to third on the circuit. Simon Wigg, race leader. He takes the yellow flag with ease. Across the strike, he travels not far to go now on this one. And Simon Wigg in seemingly consummate ease. He's going to do this one very easily. Look at him go, Simon Wigg. Out of turn number 4, you do run out of superlatives to describe this man. Here he comes, main straightaway, to a thunderous applause from this very big crowd. Simon Wigg takes a very comfortable victory, relegating Craig Boyce to second, Lee Adams to third, and the race time was...
The race time there was 65.16 seconds, David, and of course a very happy Simon Wigg, the wheelie king. The man has got so much experience at wheel standing after victories because he's had so many of them over the years of racing. Well, heat number 15 is ready to come your way as soon as we can get Simon Wigg off the circuit and stop pleasing the crowd the way that he is. But that's what the series has really reflected throughout the entire 8 weeks, 13 rounds in 5 different states. This sort of action from the riders has certainly pleased the crowds.
Yes, Simon Wigg, one of the world's great entertainers. So too is Sam and Malenko. We do certainly have the stars of World Speedway. Really, the only rider missing from the ranks is the Great Dane himself, Hans Nielsen. And with some luck, we'll have him here in Australia next year for the 1996 series.
Well, Ryan Sullivan on board the Oddfellows GM. He'll start from the red in grid position number 1. Mick Poole from New South Wales. He'll start in the blue from 2. Colin Wallace, the reserve rider. And by gee, he's certainly held his head up high in such class company tonight. He's in the white from 3. And Ollie Taivainen, the flying Finn, on board the Torco Racing Oils Jawa in the yellow from the extreme outside. Mick Poole, he's on your screen there now in the blue helmet colour as we pan across to see Ryan Sullivan. Mick Poole, 3 times New South Wales champion, and he's doing a great job in this series, but he's certainly missed out on a little bit of luck here and there. And he's missed the start badly there as Ryan Sullivan gets the best of it. There goes the finish right around the outside again. Are we going to see a repeat performance of heat number 5? Will Ollie Taivainen be able to round the field up and continue the good form in that heat and carry it through to a victory in this one? Well, Mick Poole's back there in 3rd placing, Ryan Sullivan in 2nd placing. He's the meat and the sandwiches. Poole now looms up onto the rear of Ollie Taivainen's bike, momentarily locked the bike up there to avoid a clash and slides up the inside there. Now Ryan Sullivan's looking to do the same thing. Well, Taivainen had to back off there to miss a certain accident from Poole, and that's allowed Sullivan to get within striking distance, and he comes up the inside of him, and that's allowed Poole to kick away by about 3 or 4 bike lengths at this stage. Mick Poole from New South Wales leads, and it looks like Ollie Taivainen has finally got the upper hand with 1 more lap to go over South Australian Ryan Sullivan. Colin Wallace back there in 4th placing. Well, what can you say about Mick Poole? He got the luck that he's been missing throughout the series. He missed the start, but by virtue of the fact that there's been a good battle back there in 2nd placing and 3rd placing, he's managed to get a fairly easy win in the end. 2nd placing goes to Taivainen, smoke pouring out the back of the bike as he crossed the line there. Sullivan in 3rd and Wallace in 4th. Race time 66.88.
Thank you, Lance. Tremendous ride there by Mick Poole, certainly putting his best form on the board here at tonight's grand final of the Series 500 International Speedway Challenge. Former New South Wales champion and one of Australia's very finest riding talents. Now turning our attention to the next event, heat number 16. A quality foursome here set to contest a 4-lap journey. On the outside, Jens Stackman from Denmark will ride the Quick Snacks GM in the yellow helmet colour. We're going back now to the inside. Mark Thorpe, the reigning New Zealand champion for Snap-on Tools aboard the GM. He'll ride in red. Beside him is Stephen Davies, the Quick Snacks Fraser Motorcycles laid down Jawa. He'll ride in blue from 2. And Greg Hancock aboard the Coney Shock Absorbers entry. The reigning American national champion will ride in white from position 3. Been a tremendous night Speedway racing. Trust you're enjoying it wherever you might be watching as we get set one more time to go racing at the world famous Brisbane Exhibition Speedway. Tapes flying now, and Mark Thorpe, the Kiwi, got a great start over on the inside, and the rider that hails from Christchurch leads them on settling down. There goes Greg Hancock, the reigning American champion, 24 years of age from California. He went by on the outside of Thorpe fairly quickly there. Now Jens Stackman also has a big lunge on the outside, and both of them now relegate Mark Thorpe back to third on the circuit, followed further back and forth by Stephen Davies. Boy, oh boy, these boys are trying hard. Back straight away, and Greg Hancock slicing his way through the Brisbane dirt here at the Ekka is doing a fabulous job, a couple of metres in front. Here comes Stackman though, a never say die rider. He races right up behind the back of Greg Hancock's machine, and they head down the back straight away for yet another occasion, only separated now by about 1.5 metres. Look how hard they're trying. Hancock leader, in second Stackman, now under siege is Mark Thorpe, further back in third Stephen Davies making a race out of that one down on the inside. Yellow flag now on display, a tremendous battle here right around the circuit. Hancock in the meantime has kicked away and leads Stackman by a good 4 metres. You can see the 24-year-old Californian is going to pick up the victory here. He comes off turn 4, races under Machinery Hill, checkered flag, and he greets it. A very fine win there by Hancock. Stackman was home in second and waiting now for the judge's decision. Yes, indeed, it was Mark Thorpe who defeated Stephen Davies by a will nut for third, and the race time there, a very brisk 66.82 seconds.
Yes, indeed, a very determined effort from young Stephen Davies, but it wasn't to be that time. Heat number 17, and Jens Stackman on board the Quick Snacks GM, he backs up from the previous heat. But on the inside, the world champion, Tony Rickardson, on board the O'Brien Aluminium Jawa. Next to him, Craig Boyce on board the Skilled Engineering Jawa. Then it's Stackman on board the Quick Snacks GM, and the reserve rider, Colin Wallace, from Queensland, obviously being a local lad, in yellow from the extreme outside. Well, they're jostling at the starting line, a very important part of a race, any race, especially on Speedway. Bob Johnson has certainly had his hands full tonight. Now he runs away from the back of the bikes, all in readiness for a start. Up go the Series 500 tapes, and look at young Rickardson on the inside of Boyce there. He's out by a bike length. Here comes Boyce round the outside though. Boyce is riding the bike, hands and heels down the back straight. Rickardson drops his leg off the peg on the inside. Now he feels for the room on the inside of the circuit, pushing Boyce right out into the high line. Boyce tears a strip off the front of his visor there so that he can see the back of Rickardson's bike. That's the mark that he's after at the moment, and he's not given up yet. A good battle on for the minor placings, but all the action up front between Boyce in second place, Rickardson in first, and now Boyce is under a bit of pressure from Jens Stackman back in third placing. 2 laps down and 2 to go, and look at the determined style of Craig Boyce, 3 times back-to-back New South Wales champion and world number 3. He's only being led by the top rider in the world at the moment, at least in the 94 season, and that's 24-year-old Sweden's Tony Rickardson. Yellow flag on display, 1 more lap to go at the Brisbane Exhibition ground, and Stackman back in third placing is doing a good job as well to hold out Colin Wallace from Queensland. There's Boyce on screen now, flying down through Machinery Hill, but it's all too late for him. A very convincing win by Rickardson. He gets the checker in first place, Boyce in second, Stackman in third, and a creditable fourth for Colin Wallace. Great riding there from the world champion in a very quick time of 66.28.
Good win there by Tiger Tony Rickardson, but also Craig Boyce. I think it's significant to note he does seem to be a little down on horsepower tonight. He blew his laid-down engine up on Wednesday night in the penultimate round at Gosford, and that engine he's actually using tonight is one of Shane Parker's spare engines. So I think it's safe to say that Boyce could have been a little closer there to Tony Rickardson. Well, we're certainly getting through the heats now. The all-important finals coming your way very shortly. This is heat number 18. Mark Thorpe, Lee Adams, Sam Ermolenko and Ryan Sullivan. They'll start from the inside to the outside, respectively. And that man on screen, Sudden Sam, the 1993 World Speedway champion and the winner of countless World Team and World Pairs events for the Land of Stars and Stripes, has been white hot here tonight. This has been, without doubt, his most awesome display in the series so far. We get set now for another 4 laps of fury. Mark Thorpe's ridden pretty competitively tonight, and once again he gets a pretty good start. Lee Adams gets a slightly better one though, and look at Sudden Sam. He's up high on the track looking for the drive and finds plenty of it. He gives Lee Adams the go-by momentarily, and Lee Adams is now going to fight back on the inside, and they're only separated by a metre main straight away first time round. And Sam Ermolenko, who hasn't been defeated tonight, tonight. He's looking for another checkered flag here, and look at the power of this man and the power being generated from that engine. The 500cc bike is on fire here at the Ekka. Not literally, obviously, but Sam Ermolenko off turn 4 is making the look second rate here. Lee Adams in second, trying very hard. Forget about the others. This one's a race into, more specifically, Sam Ermolenko is going to be damn near impossible to stop. The big crowd have really warmed to Ermolenko's performance tonight. That was a nice shot of Lee Adams sliding his way around the 400-metre circuit. Sam Ermolenko, the Californian, now heads up the main section. Yellow flag on display, and this boy is all class. He's doing this with consummate ease. Heads down the back section. Look at him sitting on the bike, hardly moving around at all. And that's how you've got to ride a big swing with momentum track like this one. Look how high he's up on the circuit, almost scraping the boards. Ermolenko sees the checkered flag for the 5th time in a row tonight. A magnificent performance by him, relegating Lee Adams back to second on the circuit. In third, it was Mark Thorpe, the New Zealander, in a race time of 66.69 seconds. A tremendous performance by Sudden Sam.
And he gets the accolades from former Australian champion Lee Adams, and deservedly so. It was interesting to note, though, that all riders are searching very high on the circuit, especially in that corner on screen right now, and that's Machinery Hill. The dirt has been pushed up high, wide and handsome, and the riders are searching for it throughout these heats. It'll be interesting come 2 more races' time when we hit for the finals. In the meantime, heat number 19 coming your way. We'll see Mick Poole on board the Quick Snacks R.A. Bowers Fibre Flash Shell Oil GM in the red from 1 over on the extreme inside. Jakob Olsen on board the Spitfire Spark Plugs GM in the blue from 2 as Sam Ermolenko takes time out to entertain the crowd and enjoy the lighter side of racing speedway solos. Jason Crump, your newly crowned Australian champion, on board the Quick Snacks GM will start in the white from 3, and Stephen Davies from Newcastle on board the Quick Snacks Fraser Motorcycles Jawa with Shell Oil support in the yellow on the extreme outside. YG Davies looks relaxed on that new machine on the extreme outside, coming in a slide sideways for the blue position, grid position number 2, and then Jakob Olsen. You can see Jason Crump doing some gardening there at the start line, all in readiness now. Up go the Series 500 tapes, a fairly even start, and the 3 New South Welshmen side by side. I beg your pardon, 2. They were split by a Queenslander who was a former Victorian and he's a current Australian champion, and Jason Crump is elected for the high line already, and he's riding the bike with consummate ease down onto the main straight. He comes to complete 1 lap. In second place, very, very close indeed, is of course Mick Poole, and Stephen Davies, his New South Wales partner, or at least friend anyway, is right up on the rear of the bike as they head down through Machinery Hill again. Look at the way that Davies is searching for the drive on the outside there, but it's all to the advantage of the man that's out in front. That's Jason Crump, the teenage racer from Queensland that took out the Australian Championship only a couple of weeks ago, and in rather easy company anyway. He did it in fine style, but he's here repeating the performance of that Australian Championship. 1 more lap to go for Crump, and he's riding at hands and heels down the back straight. A quick look over the shoulder, and he sees that Mick Poole's within striking distance. Now he gets himself into the business of getting through the last 2 turns onto the main straight. He goes so wide that he's almost scraping the boards, as Ermolenko did in the last one, and he takes it out in rather an easy fashion. Second place in Mick Poole, third place in Davies, and the race time 66.78 seconds.
Gee, they battled hard, those 3, and it's interesting to note that Crump, Poole and Davies, best buddies off the track. In fact, they've been rooming together throughout the duration of this tour, driving around the country together. It's good to see mates get out on the racetrack and race with respect and race as hard as possible. Next heat, and we're getting certainly to the business end now of proceedings. This is the final qualifying heat in the grand final. The Torco Racing Oil's entry of Ollie Tervainen will start on the inside in red. Simon Wing is now switching to his rightful position 3 in white. Fraser Motorcycles Jawa Shane Parker for Premier Panels rides in blue from 2. And on the extreme outside is the entertainer aboard the Coney Shock Absorbers entry, Greg Hancock, the Californian. And obviously he'll ride in yellow, as per the Speedway tradition, from position number 4. Certainly down to the business end now, the 20th and final qualifying heat of the inaugural 13-round championship down under. Set for a start, poor old Ollie Tervainen on the Torco Racing Oils Jawa breaks through the tapes. I'm not of the opinion, Lance, that was deliberate though.
No, indeed, it looked like there were problems with the tapes. The riders look to their left or their right, depending on which side they're starting from. And I believe the sensor that they eye, there were some problems in that, and we should see him restart the event.
I'll just clarify what I meant when I said I don't believe Ollie Tervainen did that deliberately. It looked to me as though he was dragged in, and obviously you've given another explanation. So So we get set now for the race restart. As you can see, Tavainen, the Flying Finn, will still start in this one over on the inside, and that is the right decision. We don't want any of that exclusion for tape nonsense here in such an important event as we go racing. And Simon Wigg, a magnificent start. Greg Hancock also very quickly into stride. A very important one here for Simon Wigg. His final qualifying ride prior to embarking on the final in tonight's grand final, and Wigg is doing it with tremendous speed as he literally sprints away from the opposition. He's left Greg Hancock and Ollie Tavainen, and obviously Shane Parker absolutely eating dust at the moment. And the Super Pom, Simon Wigg, rockets down the back section, races now past the pit enclosure under Machinery Hill, and for yet another occasion, Simon Wigg is already on his way to a very comfortable win in a heat of this series. Wiggy heads down the back section now. He's got the crowd on their feet. They're really warming to this guy, one of the most entertaining Speedway or long track riders in the world. He's shown Greg Hancock a very clean set of hills. He's further back in second, and forget about the other two with all due respect. Last lap flag on display now. Ollie Tavainen still having a good battle further back in the field with Shane Parker, but look at Simon Wigg, the supreme professional. He heads him down the back section for the final time, and the Fraser Motorcycles Gower is going to punt off turn number 4, fairly low down on the circuit actually. That's how easily he was doing it. He defeats Greg Hancock, Simon Wigg. Further back in third there was Ollie Tavainen on the Torco Racing Oils entry, defeating home in the last stride there. Back in fourth place was Shane Parker, the South Australian.
Race time 66.72, and Simon Wigg looks like he's ready and set to try and take out this series in the final tonight. Well, as the time reaches just after 9 p.m. here in Queensland, Ryan Sullivan on board the Oddfellows SA1 GM will start in the red from 1 in the D final. This is for the bottom 4 point scorers after 20 qualifying rounds. And of course the finals here tonight over 5 laps duration. Davies in the blue from 2, Jakob Olsen in the white from 3, and Colin Wallace a reserve in the yellow from 4 on the extreme outside. A fairly even start side by side. Ryan Sullivan in the red helmet colours got the upper hand at the moment. Stephen Davies slotting himself back into second placing. Jakob Olsen behind him, and Wallace, rather uncharacteristically from his form tonight, a fair way back going down the back straight for the first time. Onto the main straight they come now, and our race leader is still Ryan Sullivan from South Australia. But here comes Stephen Davies winding up the horsepower on board the Quick Snacks Fraser Motorcycles Jawa, the lay-down engine that he's riding here tonight, and he's still going so wide that he's got to slot himself between the fence and Sullivan, and he takes the lead at the end of the second lap. But Sullivan comes back on the inside. He'll have none of that. Side by side down the back straight they go. Forget about third and fourth, they're too far away from it. All the action's up front. Look at these two Australians side by side as they now head onto the main straight again. 3 laps down and 2 to go, and Davies has got the upper hand. But here comes Sullivan back up the inside again. He's so characteristically doing that lap after lap down off the main straight into turns 1 and 2. Davies looks like he's set nicely and comfortably on that high line. Look at him dragging the leg back there as he searches for the dirt. 1 more lap to go. They've completed 4. That was the length of the heats earlier on. They've still got 1 more lap to go. Half a lap now as they go down the back straight, and Davies is kicking away. Back in third place in, and rather comfortable as Jakob Olsen, but a great ride there from the New South Walesman, Stephen Davies. He'll take 4 series points to add to his total. In second placing and 3 points goes to Ryan Sullivan. Third placing and 2 points to Jakob Olsen, and 1 placing for last point, the substitute rider, the reserve rider, Colin Wallace. Race time 85.20.
What a marvellous Speedway race. The crowd really warming to that one, and congratulations to Sullivan and to Davies. Magnificent Speedway entertainment. And the next race should be just as good. The C final for those riders who qualified in 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th. There's Jason Crump, black and yellow extreme outside. Beside him is Ollie Tavainen. Then beside him in blue is Mark Thorpe, the New Zealander. And over on the inside, riding in red, is the former South Australian champion, Shane Parker. You can really feel the tension here, a very special night in Australian Speedway history as we get set to go racing with a 5-lap journey. A great idea, the 5-lap finals. Tapes now fly. Let's see how it pans out. The charge for the first corner is no place for the faint-hearted. Shane Parker on the inside. There goes Crumpy, though, the 19-year-old teenage rager, the reigning Australian champion and current Queensland champion, showing them how it's done. A great battle developing further back in the field between the South Australian Shane Parker and the NZer Mark Thorpe, who now decides to skate high, wide and handsome on the circuit. There he goes, the Kiwi Mark Thorpe. They run down the back section almost elbow to elbow, and forget about the man further back in fourth. Here they come now. now. The handlebar heroes back onto the main straightaway, and your race leader's doing it very comfortably, the reigning national champion Crumpy. Shane Parker has been able to shake off the challenge of Mark Thorpe, at least for the time being, but Thorpe picking up heaps of drive as he tries very hard up higher on the circuit than Shane Parker. But Jason Crump, a graphic shot there of the 19-year-old rider that's regarded generally as the world's finest young speedway talent, and who can argue with that? 4 world final appearances last year, and he heads down the back section, about 1.5 laps remaining now, and barring mechanical failure, Jason Crump, who's had a very indifferent night tonight by his high standards, is certainly going to win this one. Bearing in mind he is riding injured though. Yellow flag on display. There's 1 lap or 400 metres of the Brisbane Exhibition Speedway to negotiate, and this one is all the teenage rager. Jason Crump carves his way through the dirt here, and Crump now with 1 corner left to run off turn 4 takes a very comfortable win in the end, to a very, very large applause here from the crowd. He is the new Queensland #1 favourite son in Speedway, replacing Troy Butler, who's now retired. Parker in second, Mark Thorpe in third, and a very brisk race time as well.
Yes, the race time there, David, was 84.06, and some light sprinkling of rain too at the beginning of that race, which didn't make it easy for any of the competitors.
I'll try not to think about it, thank you.
Fair enough. Well, we're now into heat number 23. This is the B final for competitors that have finished in qualifying positions 5 through to 8. On the inside, it's Jan Stackman in the red, then Lee Adams in the blue, Greg Hancock on the outside of him in the white, and on the extreme outside in the yellow helmet colour is Mick Poole.
Well, Lance, as an indication or a reflection of the quality of this field, here you've got 3 world finalists in the B final. Unbelievable.
Yes, indeed, and look for some good stuff there from all 4 riders, including Mick Poole on the extreme outside. 5 laps the journey, the points up for grabs, 12, 11, 10 and 9 for first, second, third and fourth, and away go the Series 500 tapes. Lee Adams uncharacteristically missed that start there in rather a poor showing. It sees him back in 4th placing, side by side down the back straight, if you don't mind. Our race leader at the moment, as Adams comes up the inside, is Stackman. He gets the drive on the outside. No, it's not, is it? Yes, it is. And Hancock moves up into 2nd placing, with Adams still sliding on the inside there for 3rd, with Poole back there in 4th placing. Well, Stackman's made the best of the drive on the high line here. As we mentioned earlier on in one of the last heats, that seems to be the place where everybody's getting the drive. Hancock is testimony to that at the moment, and as Poole looks like he's going to pull out at the end of the field there with mechanical problems. Adams is trying as hard as he can on the inside, because there's no room on the outside of Hancock. Hancock's running from about mid-track to high track. That's where all the drive is. Look how far up the circuit Stackman is, and look how far out in front. He's done a great job there to make every post a winner in this B-grade final, and the battle is between 2nd and 3rd placing. Hancock on the outside. Here comes Adams trying to slot himself up the inside again. He hits a bump on the inside of the circuit. That forced him a little bit wide as the last lap flag is being displayed. Hancock looked over his shoulder there. All he could see was the red of Lee Adams. Here they are rubbing shoulders as they come down the back straight into turns 3 and 4, Machinery Hill for the last time. Who will get the best of the drivers? Front wheel and back wheel are so close, they almost touch. Stackman first, Hancock made the better of it. In 3rd placing was Adams, and 4th with Poole with mechanical problems. Great riding there for Jan Stackman and of course Greg Hancock. Race time 83.87 with Lee Adams in 3rd.
3 of the world's best riders in action there. A pleasure to watch. Well, I know it's a very corny line, but this is really what we've all been waiting for. Not just for the past 8 weeks whilst this tour has been in progress, but indeed for many, many months right throughout the planning. Look how close the race fans are to the racetrack. One of the great things about Speedway, how many forms of motorsport can you get that close to your favourite riders or drivers? It doesn't matter. Sam Ermolenko on the extreme outside, gate number 4 as the top qualifier tonight. He has chosen to start there. Over on the extreme inside, riding in red, is the world champion Tony Ricardson. There's the equation on screen. He only needs to finish 3rd in this one to win the series outright. If he happens to finish 4th and Simon Wigg happens to win, that will force a runoff. And how good would that be? Obviously, Ricardson will be trying to avoid that as much as possible. Simon Wigg, who's just been an absolute superstar right throughout the 8-week duration of this tour, and indeed throughout his magnificent career. And Craig, boys, congratulations to you, Boise, the top-ranked Australian, confirming undoubtedly you are Australia's #1 rider right now. A 5-lap journey, the A final. Who will it be? The tension mounts here at the Exhibition Speedway as we get set to go racing now in the final of the grand final. And have a look at the 3 world champions. They got away on equal terms. Sutton, Sam and Malenko sprints right around the outside, but Simon Wigg's got the superior drive and the racing line. He takes the race lead early on, relegates Ermolenko back to second. Tony Ricardson can't keep up, and further back in fourth is Craig Boyce, and both Ricardson and Boyce have been noticeably down on horsepower tonight. The 2 guys up front aren't, though, as Simon Wigg shows them how it's done. Now remembering Ricardson just has to finish third as Ermolenko storms down on the inside of Simon Wigg. This is World Championship racing as Wigg has a slinky look over the left shoulder. He can see Sutton Sam, and now Ermolenko winds up the horsepower. He slides it up for an outside slingshot. A beautiful pass there. There was only an inch separating himself from the concrete wall, and the American former world champion has taken the race lead. The crowd are screaming here. Sutton Sam Ermolenko down the back straightaway, and look at the gap he's opened up on the field already. Where is Tony Ricardson, Lance Robertson? He's further back in third. He just needs to stay there.
Yes, he does. All he's got to do is get in third placing, and he's won the championship over 13 rounds, 8 weeks in 5 different states. But the man of the moment at the moment is definitely the man out in front, and that's Sam Ermolenko. He even had time there to do a small jump up on the back wheel so that he's even pleasing the crowd as he even brake slides coming down onto the straight. He gets a checkered flag. A great race for second and third. Wigg in second, and of course Ricardson in third. As the fireworks goes off, Ermolenko first, Wigg second, Ricardson third, 82.04, almost 2 seconds quicker than the B final.
Look at this jubilation down on the racetrack. Sam Ermolenko has won the grand final, but that man on screen, the Swedish world champion Tony Ricardson, has won the series. Look at these 3 guys, a credit to their sport, marvellous ambassadors, great professionals. They've been a pleasure to deal with right throughout the 8 weeks of this tour, and boy oh boy, haven't they given all the Speedway fans around Australia plenty of enjoyment.
Yes, they have, as Sam Ermolenko picks up the checkered flag there and waves it high and mighty. Pity it's not the Stars and Stripes as far as the American is concerned, and it looks like he's lining up for a wheel stand. Yes, he's synonymous for that. He's certainly happy. There goes Tony Ricardson doing the same thing, and Simon Wigg in the background just off screen. He did exactly the same. They're three very jubilant races.
They certainly are. A magnificent series. Let's not forget Craig Boyce, Lance Robertson, 4th tonight, 4th in the series overall, the top-ranked Australian. The crowd here at the Exhibition Speedway are going absolutely over the top with enthusiasm and with their applause. They are looking here at Wigg, Ricardson and Ermolenko, 3 of the world's greatest ever riders, not just in the current era. There's the winner of the series, Tony Ricardson, throws his Oakley goggles over the fence. Let's hope that someone can pick those up as a marvellous souvenir.
Well, it looks, we're looking through the crowd there. Dad's picked them up for a young son, and of course he'll be a very happy chappy indeed. Look at the smile on his face. I don't know who's happier, Dad or son.
Look at this, Lance. Marvellous pictures, great sport here. Congratulations to Ermolenko. You'd swear he'd won the world final again. Look at this jubilation down trackside. I don't know about you, but I've got a lump in my throat. Tremendous stuff. That's young Morgan Hughes, Sam Ermolenko's mechanic, who has worked like a dog throughout the week, really trying to find the necessary horsepower to do what they've done tonight. Absolutely pulverise their opposition in the grand final. And look at this, will you? Ermolenko, one of the great characters of World Speedway. Congratulations to him. But we must not forget the 24-year-old Swede, Tony Ricardson, the winner of the world's most ambitious ever staged Speedway series in its inaugural staging, and congratulations to him as well. Lance, Sam has certainly paid the penalty of a slow start in the series, but there is the winner, Tony Ricardson.
Yes, if Sam Ermolenko had been at full strength, full fitness at the beginning of the series, how much closer would it have been? Not only Wigg and Ricardson at the top of the field battling it out right down to the wire. In fact, the last round, as we saw earlier on, the point score's so close. But Sam Ermolenko, well done to yourself for tonight's efforts. But there he is, 24 years of age, and he's certainly jubilant. Well, it's now time to go trackside for all the presentations. Take it away, David Tapp.
Thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to get a chance to pay tribute to these champions very shortly. They'll go around in the ute. And I've got to tell you, I'm lost for words down here. That's what sport's all about, the elation of these guys. It's now my great pleasure to call on the promoter of the Brisbane Exhibition Speedway, and please make him welcome Mr. Vic Butler for putting on such a wonderful show tonight.
Thank you, David. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you've just witnessed one of the greatest Speedway events ever seen in Australia. We owe all this thanks to Mr. David Tapp, who nurtured this idea almost 18 months ago, and we're very privileged here at the exhibition ground to host the final. Our thanks to Series 500 for picking up the series, Trevor Harding from Quick Snacks, everyone involved in the series, but a very big thanks to our own sponsors here at the Exhibition Speedway, Channel 9, the Sunday Mail, the Courier Mail, for the tremendous coverage they gave us this week. Without those guys, we just wouldn't be able to run. And of course, all our sponsors, thank you very much. And we look very forward to seeing David and the troop back here for 2 rounds next year. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please join with me. Of course, the riders will get their own congratulations, but please join with me in applause for this man here who put this series together, Mr. David Tapp.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'm humbled. Now my great pleasure to call to the lectern the Managing Director of Series 500 Car Care Products, the major naming rights sponsors for this marvellous tournament, Mr. Ivan Ballantyne. Thank you, Ivan.
Thanks, David.
Want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you very much, David. I must congratulate David on a extremely successful series, and Series 500 is proudly, or very glad to be the sponsor of this series. And it goes without saying, we must congratulate all the riders on the great rides they've had over the series. Thank you.
Ivan Ballantyne. Now time to bring the 3 men forward that tonight set the world on fire here at the Ekka. I'll tell you what, there's not much more you can say. In fact, you run out of superlatives to describe the American. You saw him put the cleaners through them tonight. Unfortunately, he still could only finish 3rd in the championship. He got off to a fairly slow start in Western Australia. But please join me in congratulating the great man of Speedway, Sam Ermolenko, 3rd in the inaugural International Speedway Challenge.
Sorry, Ivan.
And let me tell you, he is smiling like a carpet snake in a fowl house. Go on you, Sam. Congratulations.
Thanks a lot, David. Oh boy, I tell you what, I don't know if you guys enjoyed it, but I had a kick-ass time. That was great. Woo! But boy, I tell you, it turned out to be great. The weather was on our side. The gods helped us out. You know, I would have really loved to have been on top of the whole series, but I think this is a big credit to Speedway. And I tell you what, the world has been focused on this series. All around the world, everybody's been calling, keeping tabs on what's going on. And guess what? You guys got to see it, man. That's hot. Anyway, hopefully next year we're back and we'll be here.
Sam Ermolenko, folks, please, 3rd in the championship. I think it would be remiss of me if I didn't call up for congratulations a fellow that's had a marvellous series. I mentioned in the introductions tonight that he has been Australia's most successful rider abroad in 1994. He is Sydney's Craig Boyce, 4th in the championship, rode very, very well tonight. Please congratulate the top-ranked Australian in the International Speedway Challenge. Craig, I know that obviously 4th is not something that you'd find satisfactory. You're a competitor, but you're the top Australian. You have been right throughout the series. Congratulations.
Thanks very much, Dave, and everybody else has helped me through the series. Skilled engineering, the chainsaw centre, Moorebank, man of boogie boards, my family and friends, my mechanic Neil Vatcher, who's worked as hard as anything all through the series, Steve Langdon, who's done me motors, and I'd just like to say congratulations to the other 3 boys finishing up on the rostrum, and I would have liked to get in front of him, but that's the way it went. Thanks very much.
What about it, folks, for Craig Boyce? And second in the Series 500 International Speedway Challenge. Boy, this guy can ride a motorcycle, can't he? He's a 5 times world champion. He led it for most of the series, but he lost it. He's 2nd, Simon Wigg. Beautiful trophy. Wiggy. What can I say? Congratulations. I know you'll be a little unhappy, but I guess 2nd's better than 3rd.
Well, yeah, of course it is, you know, but, you know, so close and yet so far. It's, you know, I was beaten by a better bloke. You know, Tony's been terrific the whole series, and, you know, so, you know, no one can take that away from him, you know, and that's the main thing, you know. And the Speedway's been great, you know, the racing's been tremendous across the country, and I think everybody's enjoyed themselves. We've had some terrific sponsors in Series 500 and Quick Snacks and everybody else that's helped all the riders. So, you know, the whole tour's been brilliant. It's obviously disappointing to get so close, and, you know, but the main thing is the sport gets going, and, you know, everybody's had a good night, and we want to do it again next year. So, you know, I'm a little bit sad, but, you know, like I said, 2nd's better than 3rd, so, you know, the best man won anyway, and that's the main thing.
Congratulations, Simon. You've been a great ambassador. Simon Wigg! And the winner of the 13-round $500,000 inaugural Series 500 International Speedway Challenge, the world champ, Tony Ricardson.
Well done.
One of the nicest blokes in the business, and you've been there, you've been consistent, and I guess you've proven the consistency gets you there in the long run. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, David. Yeah, that's what I thought my main ambition was for this tour, you know, go out there and try to be up there on the rostrum sort of every meeting I could, you know. It's been my up and downs doing this series, but I think I could win overall because I was consistent all the time.
Congratulations again, Tony. You now go back to Sweden on about Tuesday and prepare for a very big European summer.
Yeah, that's right. I got to go back and set my trucks and all my mechanic and stuff all around me, put everybody together and really get everything rock and rolling for the new European season.
Good luck. What about it, folks? The world champion, Tony Ricardson, the winner of the championship. In second place, Simon Wigg. Third, Sam Ermolenko. Fourth, Craig Boyce. What about it one more time for our top-placed Aussie, Craig Boyce, please? Marvellous.
Well, as the Swedish national anthem plays in the background in recognition of our 13-round series winner, Tony Ricardson from Sweden, who finished 6 points ahead of Simon Wigg, then in third, Ermolenko, and the best-placed Aussie, Craig Boyce, back there in fourth place.
We might just take this opportunity, Lance, to pause for the Swedish anthem. Great moment for Tony Ricardson. I'm not suggesting for one moment, Lance, you could parallel his feeling with obviously that he endured in Vojens, Denmark in August last year when he was crowned world champion. But to win such an ambitious series as this, the way that he did coming from behind, I think it really is a reflection of the tenacity of the reigning world champion. Also Sam Ermolenko, a marvellous performance. Craig Boyce, Simon Wigg, desperately unlucky really to lose a series. Just a couple of bad rounds in the latter stages really cost him dearly, and the Australian public right around the nation, Lance, really enjoyed watching one of the all-time great Simon Wigg in action.
Yes, indeed. Who would have thought that 13 rounds ago, on the 1st of January of 1995, when it kicked off over in Western Australia at Bunbury, the way that Simon Wigg so comprehensively defeated the field in the first 2 rounds, he was looking like he was going to be a walk-away winner of the series.
Yes, he certainly was, but the calibre of this field certainly provided a fitting finale to what has been a tremendous success story. Thank you to Series 500 Car Care Products, Ivan Ballantyne, Jim Ballantyne, Craig O'Sullivan, and obviously to Trevor Harding from Quick Snacks and all of our other associate sponsors for their magnificent contribution. Great feeling here, marvellous scenes, this huge crowd at the Exhibition Speedway warming to the talents and the show that was provided by these world-class riders tonight under very inclement weather conditions, and that was really the only shame, evolving from what has been a tremendously successful advertisement for Speedway, and the crowd continuing with thunderous applause right around the venue.
Yes, and this series is really being a benchmark. It's being looked at by the rest of the world, because let's not forget that this year's World Championship will be run under similar conditions over 6 rounds in 6 different countries over around about 5 months.
Well, the top place Australian at the end of 13 rounds, Craig Boyce, 4th in the series overall. As I said, the top Aussie. You've got to feel very proud about that fact. You've been beaten by 3 world champions.
Yeah, I'm really happy, Dave. I struggled through the series from time to time, but I'm happy I come through and I'm the top Australian at the moment. Things sort of deteriorated a little bit at the end of the series bike-wise. The bikes had a few problems with engine blow-ups and frame breakages and stuff like that. Need more bikes for the next series, I'd say. But I'd just like to thank Skilled Engineering, who have been behind me since the start of the series. Thanks very much, Arthur Fowler and all the Skilled Engineering company. The Chainsaw Centre Moorebank and Mana Boogie Boards and PD Leathers. And my mechanic Neil Vatcher, who flew out especially to mechanic for me from England to do the series. And Series 500 Car Care Products. Without them guys, it wouldn't have happened. Thanks very much.
Well done, Craig Boyce. It is a moment you can feel very proud of, justifiably. Sam Ermolenko, a tremendous performance tonight at the exhibition ground. 6 starts, 6 wins, a great way, a powerful way to finish off the tournament. 3rd overall. Well done.
Yeah, like I said, I've been saying it, repeating it. It's probably getting old, but I just wish I could have got a bit better start. But I'm really happy, you know, coming to the series with injuries and stuff. I feel really good that I could go back and campaign in the World Championship. championships throughout Europe this year and have a really good chance of coming out on top. So this is a big buzz leaving Australia, and I'm really happy.
It's been a long tour for you. You've been away from your family for a long time, so I guess that tonight's third place is something for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, they've been right behind me all the way from the beginning, and I love them dearly, and it just goes to show that when you got good people around you, whether it's your family or the team, mechanics, and good sponsors, you can bring results, and that's what it's all about.
Well done, Sam. We've enjoyed having you down under. Simon Wigg was second in the championship. I guess you could be considered a little unlucky because you led it from the moment the series started. It was just in the last little bit that Tony was able to get by you, and a tremendous performance tonight. You wanted to go with a blast.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, you know, I left Sam too much room on the outside there in the final, and he was past me. You know, fair play to Sam, but yeah, it's disappointing to be so close. You know, it's only 4 points, I believe, or a couple of points in it at the end, but you know, it's so close and yet so far. And you know, I've had a few meetings recently where I haven't done too well, and that's you know, a lot of points have slipped away. So you know, I'm sort of kicking myself a bit, but there we are. It's racing, and you know, anything could have happened tonight, but it didn't. So there we are.
Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you back here next year. The man that emerged victorious at the end of 13 rounds, the reigning World Speedway champion, Tony Ricardson. You must be over the moon.
That's right. I'm so glad, you know, that I could keep plugging some good scores away all the time, and I felt really good, like after my 4 or 5 rounds, you know, my riding was coming together good, and I felt my bike was going good. And then suddenly I had a few blow-ups and had some really bad meetings, so then I started thinking, you know, we can sort of pull away too, so I thought this could be really hard to pick up, but I just, you know, kept working on it really hard and standing there and everything together perfectly for me. So, like you said, I'm over the moon.
Well done, Tony. Congratulations, and the best of luck for your defence in the 1995 World Speedway Championship. We've enjoyed having you down under. Now joining us trackside is the fellow that you've heard his voice right throughout the series, Lance Robinson, the official series commentator. A tremendous series, Lance, and you've called impeccably well. Well done.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much to the Series 500 Car Care Products people. It's been a pleasure to call with such a world-class troupe that we've seen. Culminating tonight in the last round here, simply fantastic. The best of the best riders, and the best rider won, in my opinion.
Glad you've enjoyed it. On behalf of myself, David Tapp, and Lance Robinson, we do appreciate your company tonight. Hope you've enjoyed what would probably describe as the best speedway racing that most people here in Australia have ever seen. Hope you've enjoyed the entire tournament. On behalf of our major sponsors, we wish you a very good night.